Chapter 1: The Beginning. When I first decided to learn English, I was filled with excitement and determination. However, I soon realized that the journey was not as straightforward as I had imagined. The grammar rules were confusing, and the pronunciation seemed almost impossible to master. I remember attending my first English class and feeling completely lost as the teacher spoke rapidly, using words I couldn't understand. As days went by, I tried to memorize long vocabulary lists and complex grammar rules. But despite my best efforts, I struggled to form complete sentences. I would freeze when someone asked me a question in English, feeling embarrassed about my limited vocabulary. I started to doubt myself and wondered if I would ever be able to speak fluently. To make matters worse, I compared myself to others in the class who seemed to grasp the language effortlessly. They spoke with confidence, while I hesitated, afraid of making mistakes. I realized that if I wanted to improve, I needed to change my approach. I had to stop fearing mistakes and start focusing on learning from them. One evening, I stumbled upon a blog where someone shared their journey of learning English. Their story was similar to mine, and it gave me hope. I understood that learning a language was not a race, but a journey. I decided that from that moment, I would take things step by step and enjoy the process. Chapter 2: Finding the Right Resources. Determined not to give up, I began searching for resources that could help me. I discovered graded readers' books written specifically for language learners at various proficiency levels. These books became my companions, allowing me to read stories that were both interesting and appropriate for my skill level. One particular story about a traveler exploring new cultures resonated with me, inspiring me to continue my studies. I also explored different apps and websites that offered language exercises, vocabulary lists, and listening practice. Apps like Duolingo, Memrise, and Anki helped me practice new words in a fun and interactive way. I set small goals, like completing a lesson every day, and celebrated these little victories. Podcasts became another useful tool in my learning arsenal. I listened to English podcasts while doing chores or going for a walk. I didn't understand everything at first, but I focused on recognizing familiar words and gradually began to understand more. I liked that I could pause and replay sections, which helped me learn at my own pace. To make reading more enjoyable, I joined an online book club where members discussed books in English. We chose simple novels, and each week, we discussed the chapters in a friendly environment. This gave me the opportunity to read, speak, and learn new phrases all at once. Chapter 3: Practicing with Native Speakers. Understanding that real-life practice was essential, I sought opportunities to converse with native English speakers. I joined language exchange programs and attended local events where English was spoken. Initially, I was nervous and made many mistakes, but with each conversation, my confidence grew. I learned to laugh at my errors and view them as stepping stones toward improvement. One of my most memorable moments was joining a conversation club where people from different countries came together to practice English. Each week, we discussed a new topic ranging from movies and books to world events. Listening to others gave me a sense of how different accents sounded, and I picked up new expressions along the way. I also use social media to connect with English speakers around the world. I joined Facebook groups, participated in forums, and even used language exchange apps where I could talk with native speakers. These conversations allowed me to practice real-life English in a comfortable environment. To challenge myself further, I started recording voice messages instead of texting my language partners. This helped me practice pronunciation and improve my speaking skills. Over time, I noticed that I was not only gaining confidence, but also understanding slang and idiomatic expressions that textbooks never taught. Chapter 4: Immersing in the language. To further enhance my skills, I immersed myself in the language. I watched English movies with subtitles, listened to English music, and even changed the language settings on my phone to English. This constant exposure helped me think in English, reducing the need for mental translation and making my speech more fluent. I found that watching TV shows was a fun way to improve my listening and comprehension. I started with shows I had already seen in my native language so that I could focus more on the language rather than the plot. Little by little, I switched off the subtitles and challenged myself to understand the dialogues. Music also became an important part of my routine. I created a playlist of English songs and sang along while driving or doing chores. I even looked up the lyrics and tried to understand the meaning behind the songs. Singing along improved my pronunciation and helped me learn new phrases effortlessly. Another interesting method I discovered was keeping a thought journal in English. Every night, I wrote about my day, my thoughts, and even things I was grateful for. This practice forced me to think in English and express myself more naturally. Chapter 5: Overcoming challenges. There were times when progress seemed slow, and I felt frustrated. During these moments, I reminded myself of my goals and the reasons I started this journey. I set small, achievable targets, such as learning 5 new words a day or writing a short essay each week. Celebrating these small victories kept me motivated. I also learned to identify the areas where I struggled the most and focused on improving them. For instance, I had difficulty understanding fast conversations, so I practiced by listening to audio recordings at different speeds. Over time, I became more comfortable with native speakers' pace and intonation. Another challenge was pronunciation. I often stumbled over tricky sounds that didn't exist in my native language. To overcome this, I watched videos of native speakers demonstrating proper pronunciation. I also used shadowing techniques, repeating what I heard immediately after the speaker to refine my accent. I realized that setbacks were a natural part of the process. Instead of getting discouraged, I learned to embrace mistakes as opportunities to grow. Every mistake taught me something new and brought me one step closer to fluency. Chapter 6: Achieving Fluency. After years of dedication and consistent effort, I reached a level of fluency that allowed me to communicate effectively in various situations. I could engage in meaningful conversations, understand movies without subtitles, and even think and dream in English. The journey was challenging, but the rewards were immeasurable. Fluency didn't mean I knew everything. I still encountered unfamiliar words, but I had developed strategies to deal with them. I learned how to guess the meaning of words from context and wasn't afraid to ask for clarification when needed. The most satisfying moment was when I traveled to an English-speaking country for the first time and navigated everything from ordering food to asking for directions with ease. I no longer felt like a tourist. I felt like a part of the culture. What truly confirmed my progress was when I started thinking in English without translating in my head. I found myself responding naturally, without hesitation. This was the moment I realized I had truly mastered the language. Chapter 7: Giving Back. Having achieved my goals, I felt a desire to help others on their language learning journeys. I started volunteering as a language partner, sharing my experiences and strategies with new learners. This not only reinforced my own skills, but also gave me immense satisfaction in seeing others succeed. I created a small study group where we practiced speaking and corrected each other's mistakes. I also recommended useful resources and shared the methods that had worked best for me. Watching my fellow learners gain confidence reminded me of how far I had come. I even started writing blog posts about my language learning journey. I shared tips, challenges, and funny moments to inspire others. Many people reached out to me, thanking me for encouraging them to stay motivated. Through this process, I realized that teaching others was also a way for me to continue improving. Every conversation, every explanation, and every correction strengthened my own understanding of the language. Conclusion: the never-ending journey. Learning English, or any new language, is a journey filled with challenges and triumphs. By utilizing resources like graded readers, engaging in real-life practice, immersing oneself in the language, and maintaining perseverance, success is attainable. Even after reaching fluency, I continue to explore and learn. Languages evolve, and there's always something new to discover. I now see language learning not as a task, but as an ongoing adventure, one that has opened countless doors and enriched my life in ways I never imagined. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. With dedication and patience, you too can achieve fluency and experience the joys of mastering a new language.